I'm seeing my research evolve right before me for this urgency of really putting humanity back into teaching. I know it sounds strange because teachers are humans, students are humans, but we can't take for granted that some of the policies and some of the shifts that we've seen outside of education that impact education also impact how we see each other as humans. The focus of my research, and I want to say, is also the focus of my practice, and that is to make sure that teachers, and by proxy students, are able to manage this life, or able to, particularly teachers, to prepare the next generation of students for the world that we're in, and in some ways the world that does not yet exist. So that's my research and my practice, which is often labeled as racial literacy, teacher education. That's the goal of it. When I first started my research, it was more focused on getting teachers to look at racism, sexism, those isms and phobias that often prevent us from seeing the full humanity of our students. And my research is evolving, I would say, more in a healing-centered way. That once we recognize there are isms and phobias that impact how we see students, it's important to heal from that. It's important also that students have an opportunity to have spaces of healing for teachers who don't see their full humanity. Up until a year ago, I was still teaching high school. It's really important for me to be in the classroom in multiple ways, not just in the classroom as a professor at Teachers College, but also in schools and in classrooms. And what I've seen over the last few years are students being a bit more fearful about their future. I've also seen principals and leaders feeling a lot of pressure towards compliance. So in a way that my research has also changed to try to meet the moment of that is to invite teachers, principals, leaders, and students to do a bit more self-work. And that comes under this term I call archaeology of self. And in engaging in the archaeology of self, it really pushes us to look deeply at what we believe. And what we believe, our biases, the values that we hold, directly impact how we move as a leader and how we move as a teacher. So that's another aspect of my work, and that's not always comfortable because, particularly in systems, we are expected to just move and comply and follow the rules, while human beings carry out or reject the rules. And so I've been inviting folks to really do that deep self-work before they even think about signing a policy. How will this impact those humans in your school, in your district? So my research, I feel, is important because it's relevant to what's happening in the now. It's what I call the pedagogy of now. And to understand the pedagogy of now helps us understand the pedagogy that we need for the future, right? And it also gives us some clue of what was the pedagogy of the past. So I do believe that my research is important because it is directly looking at policies that are being passed now. It is directly looking at what students see as literacy and the type of literacy or literacies that these students will need for their future. So I think that's why it's important, because it's relevant, it seeks to be in the now, and it also seeks to offer solutions. I don't want to be a researcher that just documents the problems. I have committed to do the type of research that supports teachers and students until I die. That I see teaching more than just a profession. For me, it is a movement, it is a way of being, is a way of life. And in terms of the future, whatever the future brings is where I want my research to meet that and hopefully be helpful and of service to teachers and students. Education is hope. We're in the business of hope. That is what education is for me. And the hope is always there. It's just a matter of how do we gather together? How do we help other people that may be feeling hopeless tap into the hope of it's always the possibility that's right there. And that's why it's important that we be responsive to the moment, that we not just say, oh, okay, it'll pass in 4 years. No, we have to really stay active at staying hopeful. And in some ways, we have to be active at resisting anything that goes against humanity of a teacher or of a student.